Hey guys, Scott here, and welcome to the top 10 things that Dead by Daylight needs to change in order to be a better game. These are definitely subjective, they are my opinions, but a lot of them are community-wide requests that have been spoken about for years and years and years. Ideally, I'm eventually going to have 10 top 10s, so then I can do a top 10 top 10s, which will be my top 10 best top 10s, and then eventually my final goal as a YouTuber is to have a top 10 top 10 top 10, which requires 100 top 10s, and then I can do my top 10 top 10 top 10s, but starting in at my third top 10, this is the things that behavior needs to change the most. Coming in at number 10, AFK crows removing collision. This is not a super widespread problem, but it is sort of a no-brainer for the times that it does happen. Every once in a while, you will encounter a player, be it killer or survivor, that will just sit there and trap you in place out of just pure BM, out of spite. They're just doing it just to be a dick for whatever reason, and you are at their mercy. Your only option there is to just ban yourself by disconnecting, or just stop, go somewhere else. Like just in real life, you have to just stop playing the game. So I thought a very, very simple idea, and a lot of people have suggested this before, is just make it so when you have 3 AFK crows, this is what happens when you stand still for a period of time. You get 1 crow, then 2 crows, and then 3 crows, which causes the explosions to happen so the killer knows where you are. When that happens, just make it so there's no collision. That's it. The survivor has no collision. They can't be body blocked by a survivor or by the killer. Simple as that. I don't even need to discuss this more. It's a no-brainer that is not abusable in any way. You cannot possibly come up with but what if someone AFKs for 3 minutes and then, can't be body blocked by the killer for a period of 8 seconds, and he uses that to loop him longer? Just shut up. There's no possible way to abuse that. It's objectively a good thing to do. Just add it to the game. It's a no-brainer. Number 9. This is mostly for the PC players, as the console players will probably not want to mess around with this too much, but the removal of mandatory auto-aim. There should be an option to disable auto-aim, or aim dressing as they call it. The only thing it ever does on PC is cause you to whiff and hit walls and shit, and it's incredibly frustrating.
Oh my god, that was the most egregious auto-aim I've ever seen.
I can understand on console it's a bit more of a valuable feature because just quickly aiming with sticks is just simply harder than doing it on a mouse and keyboard. So for console, that's why we want to make it an option. You can leave it on or turn it off. And the point of aim dressing, as the developers have said, is not to do auto aim, but to make your hit visually make more sense. The problem is, in order to do that, it uses how the game works. So it's not just it looks like your camera turns and aligns with the hit. Your camera turns and aligns with the hit, which means if there was something in the way that you were trying to lunge around, you'll just hit the thing instead, because it'll lock on, snap immediately, and the game has helped you get a hit, except now you just hit the thing and then nothing happens. So it's an incredibly frustrating feature that really seems to only hinder more than it helps. Again, unless you're on console, it's probably more helpful than hindrance, but even then, I think everyone should just simply have the option to turn it on or off. It seems like it wouldn't be too complicated to do that, even for behavior, so simple request, just make aim dressing auto aim. Make that a feature that you can enable or disable in the settings. I will have that permanently disabled. I cannot think of a single time auto aim has helped me in the past 5 years. Next, we have to deal with slugging in some way. At number 8, some type of anti-slug feature. I'm less inclined to just give everyone unbreakable. If you were to go that route, it would have to be when you're on the ground for several minutes. But the whole point is saving time when you're sort of doomed. But you also need it to be not abusable, so people won't just kill themselves on the ground like they kill themselves on hook. So it's definitely a very fine line and one of the more complicated problems in DBD to fix. But when they did that one everyone has unbreakable test, that was not good. That's not the correct way to do it, because it's just everyone had regular unbreakable, which is a really good perk. So it would have to be something way, way more lenient, like, after a minute and a half on the ground, then you can, give up, or then you can pick yourself up. The thing I suggested was a push limits feature. This is like a fake mock-up that I made for it. Basically, it allows you to crawl at tenacity speed, but you also burn your life 4 times faster. So this would be a creative way to get to a pallet, so it could be a new type of feature, but at the same time, you're also burning a lot more of your life. So if the killer is slugging, you might end up just killing yourself on the ground because you're risking burning your slug beater that much. At the same time, it lets you get out of matches where the killer is just, for whatever reason, just slugging out of spite. I don't think 4-man slugging should ever be incentivized. I don't think the killer should even have to do that either. I think that's not really super engaging for either side. So some type of feature that allows survivors to give up but not abuse that is what we need to do. And I think the feature that I suggested is closest to what I think would work. Obviously, because I made it, I personally think that's what would work. But there are definitely a lot of different solutions to that. I just think we do need something to address slugging in general, because it is probably the most boring thing that can happen to you outside of maybe a 3-gen on Survivor. And I think giving the ability to give up would be fair, but you want to have some type of trade-off there. So this one, I'm definitely curious to hear what you guys think for it. It's not really a, hey, do this, we're done. It's more of like, we need some good ideas and we need to tinker with it. And this is not something that would really happen in one patch. They would add it and we would have to kind of mess around with a bit, find that sweet spot where it's not abusable, but also it does end up rectifying a lot of the problems with slugging in the game. And then I think we can kind of go from there. So definitely not an easy problem to fix, but that is definitely one of the changes that needs to happen. Slugging does need to be addressed in some way without giving too much power to the survivors. Number 7, remove the bloodpoint cap. Why does it still exist? There's no reason. I cannot think of a single reason the bloodpoint cap still exists. Maybe it made sense back in the day or something like that, because I'm trying to think of a single reason, like maybe you would rank up too quickly if you had too many add-ons or something. I don't know. There's just not really any good reason to have a bloodpoint cap. I can't even say anymore ever. There was just never really a good reason to have one. Now, it used to be 1 million and they did bump it up to 2 million, but I say why? There's just no reason to have that to begin with. What if someone wants to save up for Five Nights at Freddy's and they want to save up 80 million blood points to get them, to prestige 90 within the first day? Let him do it. Like, how does that hurt anybody? He's still going to have the same add-ons as if he spent 1 million blood points. His little prestige number is different. That's it. It's a cosmetic change. There's no actual abusable thing here. You can get a new perk faster when it comes out, but again, that doesn't really take much of anything in terms of blood points. You only need one of an add-on per game, which is not really crazy. You don't have to spend 80 million blood points to have unlimited add-ons on a certain killer or something like that. So I can't think of a single good reason other than arbitrarily limiting you and forcing you to take time out of whenever you're playing to just sit there and spend blood points. There's no reason a blood point cap should exist. Number 6, I don't know how this one has not been done yet, because I have to commend them on how useful the Survivor UI actually is, but how have they not added the anti-face camp bar to the Survivor HUD? The amount of times I've been like 80% because a killer is face camping me and I'm about to Kobe, and then some other Survivor teammate comes in and just hovers. And if you guys don't know, if there's another survivor in range, the bar doesn't really go up much anymore. So I end up just dying because the survivor, or they have to kill themselves to save me or something like that, because the killer's camping me, but the survivors have no idea what my stage is. So they see me getting down to I'm about to lose another hook stage, and they're like, oh shit, I gotta go save. But I'm like, dude, if you just leave me here for 3 more seconds, I will be fine, and you can do a gen this whole time. It'd be great. So I don't know why this is not in the game yet. It seems like a pretty easy feature to implement, considering they've already done this for every other type of indicator in the game. Even recently, we had a bunch of changes to the Survivor HUD where they gave us even more information now, like progress of chests being opened and things like that. So they clearly are on board with doing things like this. I just don't know why they haven't added that. It's an absolute no-brainer. It doesn't benefit Survive with Friends in any way. It only helps solo queue, which is the weakest role in the game. Just add an anti-face camp meter to the Survivor HUD. Just why not do that? Number 5, the Shrine of Secrets has been kind of restructured several times, and in my opinion, none of them are good enough. None of them are really what it should be with how many perks are in this game. What the Shrine of Secrets, in my opinion, should be is not just a random grab bag a week of 4 things that you can get. They give you very middling blood points if you already do have them. It should just be, once a week, you can pick a perk or 2 to just purchase. You could just say, hey, I want this perk from Talitha or something like that. And you can just pick the perk, and purchase it. And you can only do this once or twice a week, but it would allow you to target specific builds that you want to get, rather than having to wait 3 years for the one to show up in rotation or something like that. Just let people specifically buy things that they want. You could, again, even have more limits than before. If you don't want to, have everyone able to get everything, just make it so it's even more limited. You could only have 2 selections instead of 4 selections now, but you can choose the selections. This would really, really mitigate how unpleasant being new to this game is with not having the good build yet. So you could actually see what a good build is, and then within a week or 2, you can have the full build. You don't really have to grind as much. You don't really have to do much of anything. You actually can just start out the gate with a build that's remotely decent. And so you'll actually be able to enjoy the game as a new player a lot more. Again, I say this phrase a lot this video, but it really is a no-brainer. I don't understand how we don't have targeted purchasing of perks yet. This is not the same game in 2016 where it was like the whole progression was just getting perks. It was like, whoa, this guy has all his perks unlocked. That's crazy. Like, we're not at that point of the game anymore. That was years and years ago. It should just be, hey, I see this build. I would like to do this build. Not I have to farm for a year and a half to get this build to work. It's just exaggerations, obviously, but the new player experience should really, really be honed in on, because that's sort of how you maintain a player base. Because a lot of people get tired of DBD pretty quick once they get really good at it. And so you need to bring in as many new players as possible to offset that loss. And so I think that would be a great way to go about doing it, making the Shrine of Secrets a targetable purchase thing. Again, I don't care how you rework it, just make it so you can pick what you want. Speaking of perks, and speaking of new player onboarding, coming in at number 4, just remove perk tiers. I don't know why perk tiers still exist. Again, this is sort of a relic of 2016 when there weren't that many perks in the game. So yeah, having multiple tiers of the perks makes sense because you need to have people, there needs to be a grind of some kind. You need to be able to actually progress towards something. But there's like 76 trillion perks in this game now, each with 3 of their own. Like, there's no reason to have to prestige 3 everything in order to get the max rank of every perk on everyone. That is an enormous amount of blood points that do not really need to be spent on just doing that. Again, all this really does is hurt new players. It doesn't affect people that have played the game for a while. It just makes new players less likely to stick around with the game when they see how much shit they have to buy. It just is artificial time wasting, and that's like the worst type of thing you can add to your game. Something that only exists to drain your time, That's it. Just, you have to keep playing in order. It's like baiting you into it. Let people enjoy the game. Let people enjoy their builds immediately. And I guarantee they'll stick around longer than if they're having a miserable first time experience. It's such an ass backwards way to do it, at least in my opinion. I'm not a professional AAA game dev or anything like that. But to me, that seems like such a backwards way of doing it, where you're just punishing the new players and the, experienced and veteran players aren't really affected by this at all. So remove perk tiers, just make it so you equip this perk. That also would change how the Shrine of Secrets will work as well. You would have to buy 3 tiers with a shit ton of shards in order to get that to be at its highest level. So there's a lot of things you can do with that, but simply removing perk tiers, I don't know why we haven't done this sooner. People have been suggesting that for a long time. There's still plenty of shit to spend blood points on. You don't have to worry about that stuff. But having to prestige 3 every single character in order to get their max perks is better than it used to be, but there are so many characters and perks now that it's sort of just a side grade again. So I think it's about time we just remove perk tiers. There are too many perks in the game. I think it's about time we just do that. Number 3, probably the king of no-brainers. Why can we not see our survivor teammates' perks? This is something that Dead by Daylight Mobile even did. Loading into a lobby and knowing what perks your teammates has is such valuable information for mitigating the frustration of solo queue that I don't understand how it doesn't exist. You can even add it to the in-game escape menu. When you see all the survivor names, just have little icons next to them of what their perks are. This will allow you to make so many more intelligent plays that will bridge the gap between solo and survive with friends, which allows us to balance the game way better than having such a big disparity here and such a big disparity here. We need to bring these things as close together as possible to achieve actual balance. You don't just nerf one or buff the other. They need to get to the same level. And if we actually have perks that are visible, that will get us even closer. So now if you see this Dwight gets slugged in the corner of the map, you're like, oh shit, that's not good. You can go, oh wait, no, he has Unbreakable. I can let him just sit there. I sit on this generator, and suddenly the pressure that the killer thought they had is not as much anymore. Again, you can do things to buff killer to compensate too. This is completely fine and in fact a good idea. You just don't want solo queue way out here, and then you don't want survive with friends way up here. That's not a good idea. So the amount of plays that you can make, it sort of jives with their whole survivor HUD changes. They're trying to make solo queue better, which they absolutely should. It's a nightmare. So you absolutely should be doing stuff like that, and being able to see what teammates actually have will allow you to coordinate massively, especially with the indicators that we see. If you see that someone has deliverance and they're not on a generator, they're probably the one that's going for the save, so they can activate their deliverance, for example. So you know for a fact that that guy's going to try to go save. Like little things like that, you get so much information just knowing what they're going to do based on their build, and you don't even have to talk to them. Their build dictates likely how they're going to play. If you see someone's got, champion a light and a flashlight, they're probably going to be hovering for flashlight saves and you're going to lose the fucking game because they suck. It gives you so much more information, and I think that is something that definitely needs to be added. Again, seems like a very minimal effort type of thing. DBD Mobile already did it. Just let us see the perks that our teammates bring into the lobby. Coming in at number 2, this may be a very controversial decision for number 2, but I think it's so underutilized we have to talk about it. Number 2, actually utilize the props system in Dead by Daylight. This has done nothing since the game came out. At the end of a match, you're able to give a survivor props and report them. Reporting them might do something, but the props does nothing. Now, it is tracked. Behavior has said 7 years ago that this information is tracked. You can see how many props somebody has based on their internal data, and that's cool. But it doesn't really change the fact that that's useless. I don't care if you can see it. I want to know how many props I have. And even then, I think they should really redefine this entire system and reward people for props, because I think one of the worst things about DBD's community is the complete lack of empathy to the other side. And if there was an incentive to be even slightly nicer and still win, by the way, I'm not saying throw the game to be nice, but if there was an incentive to be a bit nicer, then we might see a really good change overall in the community. And I don't know how anyone wouldn't really be kind of gunning for that. That seems kind of like a no-brainer decision. That's like the 7th time I've said that. There's a lot of no-brainers in here, but the prop system incentivizing people to play, I don't even want to say nice. Being good sports a bit more is even really all I'm asking. Just be a bit better of a sport. Just say GG at the end of the game when you got tunneled, or say GG at the end of the game when you got 4 out and they were like, someone teabagged you or something. Just do a little bit to incentivize people to try to be a bit better, and I think we could see a huge, huge change. This is why I said it's controversial, because maybe it won't do anything, but I do really believe that people respond to incentive. If you get a giant reward for having a ton of props, people are going to want to try to do that. Just like right now, there's an invisible MMR number and people are sweating their ass off like they're in a tournament because they want that number to be better. They want to feel like they've gotten a reward for something, which still blows my mind because you can't see MMR. But if you had a tangible, reinforcement, and we can do that with props, I think the community would be actually better over time. So prop system, just restructure that whole thing, make it actually do something, and make people able to see how the props are. Buddy really wants this, by the way. He's very vocal about this one. And number 1, the same video I've been making for almost 7 years now. Here it is again. The biggest change that Dead by Daylight needs is just fucking map balance. It's still map balance. It's been map balance since 2016. It has been the most pressing issue in the game since the game has existed. There is no reason Forgotten Ruins and Eyrie of Crows should exist in the same video game. There's no reason Badham Preschool and Haddonfield should exist in the same video game. It makes no sense that there is this much disparity. Now, the developers have gone on record saying they do want things to lean a bit killer-sided, and they do want things to lean a bit survivor-sided depending on what map you lean on, because they like the underdog story. They like a really good killer losing to a worse survivor team because the survivors get a better map for them. I think that's a stupid decision. I understand it, but I think that's a stupid decision. All it does is breed frustration. Now, it does breed that whole comeback story of, oh my god, we beat this insanely good Blight because we had fucking Eyrie Crows. Like, ooh, wow. That's the thing, though. You shouldn't even feel proud of it. If you beat a killer on a map like that, you shouldn't even feel proud because it is so heavily weighed against them. Just like if the killer, 4Ks on Forgotten Ruins or Haddonfield or something, it's so heavily weighed against you as a survivor that you shouldn't, the killer shouldn't be proud for winning there. So I don't understand really the mindset that they have for this, where they intentionally design things to enable worse players to beat better players. I don't think that's a good idea. That's like Mario Party levels of frustration. And I think that is a lot of the issues with the community comes from that internal argument that people are having. So map balance. We need to get things a bit more towards the center. And it's not like there are that many super busted maps. It's not really, I can think of 7 or 8 genuinely busted maps for either side. So it's not like an impossible problem to fix. And honestly, the new Ormond map they added was pretty good, actually. It's got a couple of 3-gen scenarios, and God, we went against a singularity that just sat on top and could see the entire map. That sucked. But for the most part, I think it's actually a pretty well-designed map. So they are capable of doing it. It's just they seem to miss more often than they hit. So they need to look at a list of the biggest outliers, I guess, like honestly, you can use data for this, I think, because a lot, no, never mind. You can't use data for this because then you're going to have things like indoor maps, like RCPD is going to have a way worse escape rate, for example, due to survivors not being able to find gens when they're newer to the game and things like that. So no, not even data can work there. You really just have to go with like your consultants and people that understand the game. The whole point is Area Crows and Forgotten Runes should not exist in the same game. There's too much disparity. There's too much disparity between, the weakest killer and the weakest survivor. Really, this extends outside of just maps. It's more just balance in general. I feel like just saying balance the game is too vague for number one. But in truth, that actually is the most important issue with the game. It's the important thing that needs to be changed. Again, the fact that Trapper and Nurse exist in the same game is fucking wild. They are playing two separate games. Like, literally 3 Trappers will still do worse than, like, 1 Nurse. So, the fact that these maps and killers have so much disparity amongst the strongest and weakest, everything needs to be crunched down a lot. And you could argue that makes the game a bit more boring, a bit more homogenized. I don't care. It's stupid. You should not have that much disparity in the levels of balance in your game. It has been and forever will be the biggest problem in DBD is just the balance of everything involved. So overall, that's it. I can't think of anything more impactful to really hone in on than that, but I'm curious to hear what you guys think. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.